Okay, welcome to the channel. This is Nabi and you're watching my unboxing plus initial review video of the Roadrunner RX7. As you open up the box, it comes with a QC checklist, so you can pause the video and take a look. Here's the box, and here's the scooter. It comes with a thick foam, so you don't have to worry about it getting damaged during the shipping. You pull out the foams. And there is your expensive piece of tech. And there's going to be 4 plastic clips all around the box. Press it down and pull it out. Then you should be able to remove the outer box. That reveals the scooter. Yeah, just make sure to secure the stem before you lift it up. Once that's done, you should be able to pull it out. I started from the rear, made my way up to the top. And make sure to hold your scooter because the kickstand is wrapped around with the rep. So you're going to have to tear it apart and then lower the kickstand. There you have it, the RX7. Now the accessories. I have no idea why this was included. Maybe to unscrew the stem or suspension. I don't know. If you know, just leave it down in the comments below. There's your air compressor. It's portable, so it's going to be handy. There's also a stem mounted bag, but you cannot mount it front because of the headlight, so you're going to put it at the back, which covers up the latch. Screws for the damper. And a tiny bag that contains a bunch of tools inside. You have your rim protector, a multi-tool, 21mm hex socket, tire spoons, something, looks like an adapter, a 17mm hex socket, a torque wrench, and a T25 Torx wrench for the McGraw brakes. A set of hex wrenches, your front and rear fenders, and a steering damper. Alright, now the assembly. You're just gonna slowly lift up the stem and it will slide in. Just like that. You're gonna tighten up the bottom piece. And then the top piece. Tighten up the lever. Now for the handlebar stem, it's gonna be 4mm. You unscrew 4 of those. There are washers, so make sure not to lose them. 3mm for the display. You're gonna have to take off the display before you can put your handlebar because it gets on the way. Tighten back up, and once that's done, you're gonna have to connect your display to the, obviously, the gray looking connector. Tighten it up. Mine came off with the cover. I'm just gonna put it back on. It's gonna be 5mm hex for the headlight. You tighten that up. And it's gonna be 3mm hex for the sides. You can adjust up and down. And here's the satisfying moment. Unfortunately, my scooter came with a dent on luminor. It's like the most important part, but I guess it is what it is. And for the kick plate, there's a slight scratch. I see a lot of other customers having a dent. I think that's because of the folding mechanism and somebody just dropped the stem hard on the kick plate. That's the only thing I could think of. If your Magura sides look fine, and then your rear lights, KKE suspension, and then the PMT tires, the side looks okay. And then the rear tail lights. They also work as a blinker, but I would recommend you to get a different way of using blinkers because they're hard to notice. With the luminor, on the right side, I see a lot of signs of glue or adhesive, something right below the E as well. But overall, the logo looks fine. The deck is wide and made out of rubber, so there is a solid grip to it. The key looks beautiful. It comes with this tiny key ring. Honestly, I like the design. It's pretty fancy. Now for the keys, the tiny ones are for the deck, and the big ones are for the main power. And let's open up where the magic happens, because why not? Just 2 screws. They are 3mm hex. And the cover is just a thin piece of metal. Now you see a bunch of cables at the top. Those are for the luminor lighting, because every single part needs to get powered up. So you just end up with a bunch of cables. For the controller, there are 2 controllers right next to each other. They're all 72 volt, 55 amp controllers with the under voltage of 59 volts. Now you see a bunch of cables that comes from the battery, and the thick ones are for the motors. Now this is the controller for the luminor, and there's also a separate battery for the luminor. I couldn't find any details on the battery itself, but as far as I can tell, it's a battery connected to some kind of voltage regulator and to a controller, and it gets powered by the main battery. The tiny connections are zip tied, so it won't come off, and there are 7 pins. I thought it was for data connection, but seems like it's just voltage power connection from somewhere that goes to somewhere. Yeah, somewhere up there. Now for the deck cover, there's a rubber packing all around the edges to give some kind of water resistance. But one thing that I noticed was after measuring the length where it starts and comparing with where the components are, the rubber packing pretty much starts where the cover starts, as you can see here, which means the gap where the key goes in is not going to have water protection. Well, technically there is your front fork that blocks all water from going in, but that's only true when you're going straight. When you turn the handlebar, now there's a wide gap. Realistically speaking, it's not going to happen all the time, but still water can fill inside, and then the controllers will heat up the water, generate some moisture, and in the long run it could cause potential corrosion even though the connections are all watertight. So after riding under rain, I would recommend you to open up the lid and make sure all the components inside are dried and there's no remaining water inside. At least all the connections for the batteries are all facing upwards and they have a rubber packing to it, so you don't have to worry about water damaging your battery. It's just that once the water gets in, there's no way for water to come out, and it's most likely going to stay there until you dry it out. Now for the charging ports, they are using 8mm DC connection, the same thing as Xiaomi 42 volt scooters. As you can see on the cover, it also says 42 volts. Even though it's really a 72 volt scooter. I would say it's their proprietary approach to discourage purchasing aftermarket chargers, but if you want to, you can still look for an adapter that converts whatever the charging port for the charger that you're going to be using to a 8.0mm by 1.6mm DC connection. It's basically the same as Xiaomi's 42 volt. However, since RX7's charger is using 5 amps, actually, the stock charger is using 18 AWG cable instead of those thin ones that you can find. So instead, I would recommend you to get an solid one-piece adapter instead of a conversion cable or something like that, which could be thin for 5 amp of current. Yeah, and somewhere on Reddit, I heard that the Roadrunner rep said the charging ports are 10mm RCA ports, but no, I've measured it, it's an 8mm DC connection. Now for the motor, the rim and the hub are separate, so you don't have to worry about damaging the motor as you replace the tires. For the disc brake rotor, those are 160mm stock Magura disc brakes, so if you want something aftermarket, just go look for a compatible one with 6 volt connection. Obviously the tires are PMT, nothing too fancy about it. Now there is one severe flaw with this design. So basically they shipped the scooter without the fender installed because they're worried about the fender being damaged during shipping. The problem is they assembled the scooter and they glued the cover without the fender. And now the customers need to attach the fender, but all the threads are basically locked up with silicone that they use to attach the rubber piece. So you're gonna need an impact driver to unscrew this.
I need a bell. It's a ring.
But yeah, that wraps up the unboxing part, and now it's for initial thoughts and review. So overall, as a scooter, as a hyper scooter, the performance that the RX7 has is absolutely amazing. It has punch, it has acceleration. We'll still have to wait for other reviews to directly compare this scooter with other hyper scooters like the Emotion RS, Wolf King GTR, or Nami Bernie 2 Max, but I can say for sure that you'll never get disappointed in terms of performance. However, I could say that they were kind of rushing when it comes to delivering this scooter from the production perspective and then the QC perspective, because including myself, a lot of customers are having cosmetic imperfections. Those are not malfunctions or defects. Those are just cosmetic damages, dents, scratches, things like that could have been avoided if they took their time. And when it comes to settings, the acceleration setting, the manual says the highest acceleration is going to be 2, but I could only set it to 1, and if I press more buttons, it will just rotate between 0 and 1, whereas the manual says I could go 0, 1, and 2, which 0 being the lowest and 2 being the fastest acceleration. I don't exactly know what the problem is, but as of right now, I'm only forced to use 1 as the acceleration setting. Maybe they could fix it in the future with a new display, but that's one thing right now. And with the kick plate, it is a little bit too steep, so if you're to use it all the time, it could stress out your legs super fast. It's not too bad, and if you want to accelerate fast, you still need that steep angle anyway because you need to lean forward. But for a longer ride, I would say that you may want to move up a bit forward so you can lay your foot down flat on the deck instead of using the kick plate. And for the suspension, I've ridden Nami Klima over 3,000 miles, and I could say that Klima's suspension feels definitely better than the RX-7. It's because the travel distance on Klima is way longer than the RX-7. The RX-7's suspension is designed to be a little bit more tighter and dense so that you could have a little bit more control and stability at higher speeds. Whereas for the Klima, it almost felt like the highest priority was the ride quality itself. But still, the RX-7's ride quality is good enough. It may not be the best in the world, but still it is one of the best. And I'm just trying to make comparisons by splitting here so that you guys can have a general understanding where it stands when it comes to those aspects. Now for the lighting, as you can see, the white square at the front is the stock light of the RX-7, and then the white beam is the aftermarket light. So really the stock light is just the white square up there, which is super tiny and narrow. So I would highly recommend you to get a secondary light for a wider view. Now for the battery life, I could say for sure that this thing will last. I'm used to Nami Klima, which has 60 volt 23 amp hour battery. It's non-max, it's the original version, and the realistic range was usually about 20 to 30 miles, and I often go with the turbo mode enabled because Klima's top speed is about 40 miles per hour, which is a little bit too slow for my taste. So I would go full throttle 24/7, and as a result the range that I was getting out from that scooter was only about 20 miles. But this scooter, on the other hand, 40 to 50 miles on the RX-7 is nothing, right? The scooter is designed to go beyond 60 miles per hour, and obviously you wouldn't go that fast all the time, and most likely you'll be riding somewhere around 30 to 50 miles per hour range. And if that's the case, I would say I could maybe expect a minimum of 50 miles of range, and even further, it depends on how you ride the thing. And as you can see right now, the scooter has an electronic braking system, so it does help a lot reducing the need of mechanical brakes. and you could potentially get a lot of lifespan out of those brake pads. And finally, the dampers. It's not like you're gonna have wobble without the dampers, or you're not gonna have wobble with the dampers type of thing. It's more like it heavily depends on your skills on how well you can control the scooter, and damper is just a tool to make it easier for you. So with that, while I was riding the scooter slow and fast with the damper, I didn't experience any severe wobbles. I did see a symptom of approaching closer to a wobble, but I was able to keep it under control, and I wouldn't say that the scooter is unstable. It is fairly stable, and as long as you know how to control the scooter, I think it should be fine. So that pretty much wraps up everything about my initial review on this scooter. The rest of the video will be my riding footage so that you guys can have a little bit more understanding of what it feels like to ride this scooter. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any questions, please leave it down in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit like. If you disliked something about the video, just please leave it in the comments why you disliked about it. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
Why is he slowing down? Okay, that's like a very, very good driver. Driving super safe. What? Never mind. Okay, I don't even know what to do. Let's go straight. Now I can order a pizza. It does look freaking fancy. That light is kind of dim. Bobtail test. And then a brake test. Very good. Wobble test. Okay, tilting is honestly not bad. Is my pizza ready? Maybe, maybe not. Oh my gosh, so pretty. Thank you. You too. Uh-oh. I messed up the tail light. Thanks. It's an electric scooter.
I like it though.
Thanks.
Why so bright? Did you buy them?
What's that?
Did you buy them like that?
Yeah. Okay, my music is terrible right now. That's a lot better. This lighting makes sense. I hate that bump. I need to go around. Wow, this scooter rolls pretty well. Like, it just keeps going. Impressive. I'm gonna test out the wobble real quick. Oh, dead animal. That was scary. Pretty good.